breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Warm and friendly hello. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got a tremendous podcast for you guys. In segment number 2, we're going to be joined by Justin Perri, who does great work over at Shot Quality Bets. I know that the name says Shot Quality Bets, but do not let that fool you, as he is an ace when it comes to baseball analysis as well. Joined me all throughout the year last year on this podcast, and I'm hoping to get him on pretty much like once every 2 weeks or so on the podcast once again this year as well, because he does amazing work taking a look at the great game of baseball. We're going to get his thoughts as to what he's been seeing the first three and a half weeks of the season, how gauging weather has been really helping him out as well, and we're going to dive into a few games for Monday in the final segment. Going to give you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Monday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at GNN_D1. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline, and the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you are able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. No questions on the podcast today, but we had a great day of baseball on Sunday. Let's take a look back at it. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The hot shell Tampa Bay Rays just keep it going now, 19-3. 4-1, they take down the Chicago White Sox. This line got steamed very rightfully overnight, and Lucas Giolito, he got steamed as well, giving up 4 runs over the course of 7 innings, as there was a pair of home runs in this one. Luke Raley, 4th of the campaign. Harold Ramirez, his 5th. Zach Eflin, he was pretty Eflin good. 1 run surrendered at 5 innings. Yoni Chirinos, 3 scoreless, and then Pete Fairbanks, he was able to supply a scoreless inning. And hey, for the Chicago White Sox, the bullpen didn't give up any runs. Sander Banks, a scoreless inning. So, yay, verily there. As the Tampa Bay Rays, by the way, now 12 overs, 7 unders, and 3 pushes. They have played north of 60% of their games the over. They are the top run line team in baseball. They're the top money line team in baseball right now. They have been a great story. The Boston Red Sox put up a 9 spot in the 8th inning against the Milwaukee Brewers. A Brewers team that entered into the day with the top bullpen ERA in the National League. 12-5, the Boston Red Sox get the job done, as it was Masataka Yoshida who was able to provide the boom. He hit 2 home runs in the same inning off of Matt Bush and then Javi Guerra for home runs number 2 and 3 of the campaign, just to turn her down for 1. He also went deep off of Matt Bush for his 2nd of the season. Corbin Burns, I'm not going to say that he had a great start. He gave up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 5 innings. He was hurt by a fielding error, as the rookies for the Milwaukee Brewers didn't necessarily have that figured out, but you did have from there Hobie Milner along with Elvis Spiguero be able to give you 2 scoreless innings, and then Matt Bush lights this game on fire, giving up those 2 home runs, got 1 out, gave up 4 runs, and Javi Guerra didn't do any better. He got 5 outs, giving up 5 runs as well. For the Brewers, you did have Brian Anderson go deep twice in this one. 4th home run of the campaign comes off of Brian Bayo, and then he goes deep off of John Schreiber for home run number 5 for Schreiber. Gives up that home run over the course of an inning. Caleb Bourque gives up a run in an inning, and for Bayo, not a great start here. 3 runs surrendered in 4 2/3 innings, but Richard Blyer for outside the bullpen scoreless, and Ryan Brazier able to close things out with a scoreless inning. So the Brewers lose 2 of 3. They're now 15-7. Going to be interesting to gauge them moving forward. Colorado Rockies have been the lowest scoring team in the big leagues on the road since they started the 2022 season. Shock, shock, surprise, surprise. Offense couldn't get things going in Philadelphia on Sunday, 9-3. The Phillies are able to get it done as Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler does give up 3 runs in 6 innings, but punches out 11. Gregory Soto, Luis Ortiz, along with Jose Alvarado were all able to lend a scoreless inning in for the Philadelphia Phillies. It was home run derby in this one. Bryson Stott, 2nd home run of the season. Brandon Marsh, his 4th home run of the season. Trey Turner down for what? He gets his 2nd home run of the season, and home run number 1 for Cody Clemens, as for the Colorado Rockies, Jose Urena got Urena all over, giving up 4 runs in 3 2/3 innings, including 2 of those home runs. Denelson Lamet and Ty Block give up the other 2 home runs, as they combined for 2 innings, giving up 5 runs, as you did have Brent Suter give you 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and Brad Hand a scoreless inning. But for the Colorado Rockies, just right now, a very, very sad state of affairs for them. They have lost, I believe, now 9 out of their last 10 games. So, not so savory there. It's not been a savory year for Clark Schmidt, as the Toronto Blue Jays were able to get to him 5-1. Blue Jays get the job done. For Schmidt, gives up a pair of home runs. 3 unearned runs surrendered by him, as Anthony Volpe's fielding error just completely killed him, as the Blue Jays got 3 runs in the 6th inning. He should have been out of the inning. The error just did not help out, and then Dalton Varsho go deep off of him for his 2nd home run of the year, and Vlad Guerrero Jr. is 5th. Kevin Gausman, he was on point. 3 hits, no walks, 11 punch-outs, and 7 scoreless innings. Eric Swanson a scoreless inning. Adam Simber does allow his home run in the 9th inning. Going deep for the Yankees, Anthony Rizzo, 5th of the season. And then for the Yankees bullpen, Ian Hamilton, he gives up a run in 2 innings. And Michael King, 1 1/3 innings, he allowed 1 run as well. The Astros pull off a sweep of the Atlanta Braves, and all is well with the Houston Astros. Once again, 5-2 the final. They entered into the series, by the way, 9-10. So this was massive for them. As for the Houston Astros, Christian Javier, a dominant start. 2 runs, one of which was earned, surrendered in 6 innings. Did give up a solo home run, but he also did have 10 punch-outs as Kevin Pillar was able to get his first home run of the season. For Max Fried, 6 2/3 innings scoreless, and then the Atlanta Braves, for the second time in 3 days, just completely light this game on fire. A.J. Minter gives up 3 runs in an inning. Nick Anderson gives up 2 runs in an inning, and you had to get the final out of Danny Young. Meanwhile, for the Houston Astros, their bullpen was struggling coming into the series. Rock solid in this one. Brian Abreu, Hector Neris, Phil Maton. They don't allow as much as a single hit in their scoreless innings apiece, so they were able to get the job done out there. The Pittsburgh Pirates are now 16-7. They blanked the Cincinnati Reds 2-0. Hunter Green, solid start, gives up 1 run in 6 innings. I'm sure that a lot of people are disappointed he only got 6 strikeouts, but you know what? Solid start there. Fernando Cruz gives up a run in 1 2/3 innings. Javier St. Martin gets it out of the bullpen, but nothing doing for these Reds bats as Vince Velasquez, 10 punch-outs and 7 scoreless innings, giving up 2 hits. Colin Olderman, David Benhar, they come in for scoreless 8th and 9th innings. That's not something that I thought I would be saying in 2023. Scoreless start from Vince Velasquez. By the way, Pittsburgh Pirates, 13 unders, 9 overs, and a push thus far this season. And if you're wondering who the top under team right now is, the New York Yankees with 15 unders and 7 overs. That has been very intriguing to take a look at. The Cleveland Guardians played an over, and they got the job done against the Miami Marlins, who they are now 7 overs, 14 unders, and a push. So they got overtaken for the best under team in all of baseball on Sunday, 7-4. The Guardians get the job done as Jesus Luzardo did not have it in this one. 4 1/3 innings, gives up 4 runs, including a pair of home runs. Jose Ramirez gets home run number 3 of the season, and for Josh Bell, home run number 2 of the campaign, and young Logan Allen in his first start, he was pretty darn solid, giving up a solo home run over the course of 6 innings of work as John Birdie got his second home run of the season. Then Adolis Garcia went deep off of James Karinchak, his second home run of the season. Karinchak just has not been good. Now he's a 6.75 ERA, gives up 3 runs over the course of an inning, but fortunately for him, Trevor Steve and Emmanuel Clase did their part. They both supplied a scoreless inning, and for the Miami Marlins, they had 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, given up in 2 innings by George Soriano, as Matt Barnes was able to provide 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. The Detroit Tigers continue to struggle with their offense. The Baltimore Orioles pull it off in 10 innings, 2-1 the final for Detroit. Eduardo Rodriguez was really good. Probably should not have been pulled after 95 pitches. Gives up 1 hit, no walks, and 7 scoreless innings. From there, the bullpen lights it up. Jason Shreve gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. You did have Alex Lang give you 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless before Mason Englert gives up the unearned run in the 10th inning for the Tigers. They have nobody to blame but themselves. They leave 13 men on base. They go 0 of 8 with men in scoring position for Baltimore. Grayson Rodriguez, he got into some danger. 3 walks, 5 hits surrendered in 5 innings, but did not allow a run. Mike Baumann, scoreless inning out of the bullpen. Cionel Perez gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning, but Austin Voth, Brian Baker, they both get a pair of outs without allowing a run. And then Felix Bautista, Keegan Aiken, scoreless 9th and 10th innings, gets it done for the Orioles, who are now 14-7 thus far this season. If you're looking at who the top over team in all of baseball is right now, it is a tie between the 2 teams that took part in Sunday's bout between the Texas Rangers and the Oakland A's. Both of these teams either 14-6-1 or 14-6-2 to the over thus far this season. But this game, in a lot of places, pushes. In some books, this went under. The total was anywhere between 7 and 7.5. But regardless, the Walker Texas Rangers, they are able to get the job done by kind of 5-2 as Kyle Mueller, he was the man that really gave up the runs in this one. 4 runs surrendered over the course of 5 innings, including a home run. Going deep for the Texas Rangers, Robbie Grossman, home run number 2 of the season. Jacob deGrom left his last start due to a precautionary measure. He looked good in this one. 2 runs, one of which was earned in 6 innings, punching out 11. He did give up a home run along the way. Going deep for Oakland, Shea Langolaris, his 4th home run season, and both bullpens were relatively solid. Chad Smith does give up a run in 1 1/3 innings for the Oakland A's, but Richard Lovelady, a scoreless inning, and Sam Moll, a pair of outside the bullpen. Meanwhile, for the Texas Rangers, Brock Burke, Jonathan Hernandez, they piecemeal together 2 scoreless innings, and Will Smith gets jiggy with it. He's able to close it out. He gets a save with a scoreless inning. The LA Dodgers, they are back above 500, 7-3. They get it done against the Chicago Cubs as you had a trio of home runs. J.D. Martinez, home run number 4 of the season. Mookie Betts, home run number 3 of the season. Both of those come off of Marcus Stroman, and Stroman gave this one up as well. Max Muncy is league-leading 11th home run season. The Dodgers lead the National League in terms of home runs. It's Stroman, who had north of a 5 ERA at home last season and had a sub-210 ERA on the road last season. He might be in for that again this year. 5 runs surrendered in 5 innings, including 3 home runs. Michael Fulmer gives up 2 runs in an inning out of the bullpen, while Keegan Thompson, 2 scoreless innings. Brandon Hughes, a scoreless inning. And you did have Yan Gomes, who costed Drew Smyly a perfect game. He did go deep in this one. Home run number 4 of the season off of Clayton Kershaw. And that's really all that Kershaw gave up. He gave up 3 runs, but only one of which was earned. He had a pair of errors, including one from Max Muncy. Hurt him in the field, but Justin Perri, a scoreless inning, and then Bruce Sutter Gradwell, 2 scoreless innings to be able to get things to the window for the LA Dodgers. The St. Louis Cardinals are able to get to the window 7-3. They take down the Seattle Mariners. Chris Flexen is right now flexing on his ERA and sending it northward. 6 runs surrendered over the course of 4 innings, including a pair of home runs. 886 would be a really good number on the bench press. ERA, not so good. So Chris Flexen needs to adjust that a little bit, as going deep for the St. Louis Cardinals. So you did have home run number 6 of the season for Nolan Gorman, and Lars Nootbaar, his second home run of the campaign, and then J.C. Young a little bit later on. He gets his first home run of the campaign. Diego Castillo, not very trustworthy. He gives up that home run over the course of 2 innings. You did have Penn Murphy, Gabe Spear, along Taylor Saucedo. I'll give you a scoreless inning, and Jared Kelenic gets his 6th home run of the campaign. That comes off of Jack Flaherty, who gave up 3 runs in the second inning, but Flaherty would calm down from there. 9 punch-outs, goes 6 innings, giving up those 3 runs, and then from there, Genesis Cabrera, Ryan Elsley, they combine for 2 scoreless innings, and Giovanni Gallegos, scoreless inning. Pair of disappointment teams, by the way. Seattle now 10-12 with that loss. St. Louis, they're now 9-13 with the win. The Padres get it done against the Arizona Diamondbacks, this by a count of 7-5. Seems like the Padres bats have awoken as Matt Carpenter gets his 3rd home run of the season. I believe that this was his 2nd home run in his last 4 games, as that was in support of Yu Darvish, who gave a good start. 1 run surrendered in 5 2/3 innings. Bullpen tried to light this game up. Brent Honeywell and Tim Hill, they came in for 7 outs. They gave up 4 runs, including 3 home runs between the 2 of them. Going deep for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Jake McCarthy and Nick Ahmed got their 1st home run of the season, and Alec Thomas is 2nd as Trey Jemison. He lasted 1 inning, giving up 3 runs. That was not great, to say the least. So it was a wholesale approach for the Diamondbacks, as got scoreless innings out of Jose Ruiz along Kevin Ginkel. Joe Mantiply, he gave up a run in and out of the bullpen. Peter Solomon had to come in as a long guy. He gives up 2 runs in 3 2/3 innings. He gave up that home run to Carpenter, and Anthony Bichevich gives up 1 run over the course of 2 innings. So the Padres, they're able to get right. They're able to get back to 500. The DK Nation write-up pick, that comes through as the LA Angels and Kansas City Royals game goes under in a game that featured 6 home runs, 4-3. The LA Angels get the job done. The Angels put up a 3-spot in the 6th inning thanks to back-to-back jacks. Taylor Ward, 3rd home run season. Shohei Ohtani, his 5th home run season. Mike Trout, his 5th home run season. All come off of Jordan Lyles, who had given up 1 hit before giving up back-to-back home runs. He gives up those 4 runs, 3 homers over the course of 6 innings. Amir Garrett and Josh Taylor from there come in for a scoreless inning, and all the Kansas City Royals runs came off of solo home runs. Reed Detmers serves one up to Vinny Pasquantino, his 4th home run season. MJ Melendez gets his 2nd, and then Bobby Witt Jr. gets home run number 4 of the season off of Austin Warren. Warren gives up a run in 1 1/3 innings. Detmers went 5 2/3 innings, giving up those 2 solo home runs, but Matt Moore, Carlos Estevez, they're able to close things out in the 8th and the 9th inning to be able to get that to the window, and the Twins get to the window. They take down the Washington Nationals, this by a count of 3-1 for the Nats. Just not a lot doing on offense. 3 total hits. Patrick Corbin honestly wasn't horrible. He did give up a pair of home runs, but gives up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings for Minnesota. Michael A. Taylor gets his 4th home run season, and Ode Polanco, welcome to the 2023 season. 1st home run season. Bailey Ober, 1st start of the year, relatively solid. Gives up 1 run in 5 2/3 innings. Ode Lopez, Yohan Duran, they both give you a scoreless inning, and Caleb Theobar, 1 1/3 innings scoreless. And then on Sunday Night Baseball, you saw the San Francisco Giants get it done 5-4 against the New York Metropolitans. The starters really gave up the runs in this one, as Tyler McGill gives up 4 runs over the course of 4 innings, including a home run to Thairo Estrada, his 4th of the campaign. Rod Stripling not too long for this game either, as gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 3 1/3 innings for the Giants. But Rogers squared was able to get it done. Taylor Rogers, a pair of outs out of the bullpen. Tyler Rogers does give up a home run in his 2 innings of work, as Francisco Alvarez, young prospect for the Mets, he was able to get home run number 1 of the season. But from there, John Brebbia, Scott Alexander, Camilo Doval, they all went scoreless innings, and for the Mets, You did have Drew Smith give up a run in the 8th inning that costed them as Jeff Brigham 2 scoreless innings, and you had Brooks Raley lend a scoreless inning as well. So Giants able to improve to 8-13. And if you're taking a look at everything that we're seeing in Major League Baseball right now, this is with Sunday Night Baseball's results pending. We have been seeing more unders recently. 49 unders of 40 overs in the last 7 days, like I said, without Sunday Night Baseball taken into account. That's 55% to the under, and favorites, they've been able to do a relatively solid job thus far this season over the last 7 days, hitting at a 62% clip, 57 and 35 straight up, with all but 11 of these favorites being able to win by multiple runs. So that run line is coming through. If you're looking at favorites overall this season, 203 and 124 straight up, and among these favorites, we have seen a grand total of 47 not be able to cover the run line, win by just 1 run, so that is something to take a look at moving forward. And overall for the season, 163 overs to 152 unders. I believe we've got 12 pushes along the way as well, so that's what we saw in Major League Baseball on Sunday, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming up next, we are being joined by Justin Perri over at Chalk Quality Bets, taking a look at Monday's baseball card and how he's been able to utilize weather for finding some good handicapping edges. That's up next, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Are you ready to become a winning sports bettor? Schedule a call with SBIA to find out how their service can make you a long-term winning player. They've developed an innovative algorithm that maximizes units returned, and they are so confident in their system that they offer a money-back guarantee. Sign up by October 31st and get their MBA package at no cost until they reach 10 net units. They treat sports betting like a business. So if you want to learn how to make your sports betting dreams a reality, visit them at SBIA1.com and check them out on social media at SBIA Sports.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast, and we are being joined by our guest here as Justin Perri. He does amazing work over at Chalk Quality Bets. Do not let the name fool you, though, as Justin, he does an incredible job taking a look at the diamond, as he joined me all throughout the season last year on this podcast. Great to be able to get him back on, as this man is an ace when it comes to taking a look at the great game of baseball out there in the northeast part of the country. And you're able to follow him on Twitter at Justin Perri and the number 8. Last name is spelled Perri. And Justin, always great to have you aboard. Thank you.
Greg, it is always a pleasure to be here as always. Excited to talk a little bit of baseball. It has been a good few weeks for me so far, enjoying the start of the season, trying to stay ahead of the market on a few of these pitchers and maybe try to key in on what lineups are good at already.
And I'm so glad that you start right there, because what has been leading to a lot of success early on for the season for you, because it has been a little bit of a topsy-turvy season. We've seen a lot of overs thus far, but if you take a look at the last 7 days, bookmakers, they are very hip to this. They are aware of what's going on, and we've been seeing a few more unders being able to come through, and I know that you've been doing a great job of adapting. What's really been going well for you to start out this baseball season, as we're about 3 to 3.5 weeks through?
It definitely has been interesting with the overs. It's definitely settled down a bit. I think that, like you said, the line makers have gotten a little bit sharper with it. In the last week, I think we've seen unders are hitting at 55.5% in the last 7 days in baseball. So, it definitely has shifted a little bit. The lines are a little bit higher, it feels like. You're not seeing as many 7.5, 8.5 lines. You're seeing a lot of 9s out there, a lot of 9.5s. And I don't know. Last time we were here, we were talking about if there's changes with the ball. It's definitely not easy to really figure out. But what has been working for me, honestly, in the last week is really playing a lot of away teams against the spread. It has been very, kind to me. They've been doing very well in the entire season against the spread. It's been pretty profitable. You just take the away team. I think it does have a lot to do with, the extra at-bats in terms of when you cover or when you don't, especially favorites on the road. I believe they're 70 and 47 against the spread is pretty profitable, especially when you have a lot of teams getting lower lines. Not paying juice is the name of the game in baseball, especially when you can find ways to do it. And when you watch the game, I don't know if you agree, Greg, but when you watch the game, it feels like when teams win, they are usually winning by a lot, right? Some teams scoring a lot. We don't see a lot of low scoring 2 to 3, 2 to 4 games. Usually it's a 6-2 game and it goes under an 8.5 line, but still one team's putting up 5 runs pretty frequently.
And what I think is so interesting as well is something that I've just noticed in recent years as well, when it comes to taking a look at totals, maybe instead of if a line is anywhere between 8.5 and 9, if you're getting like an over of 9 at a plus 105 even money, whereas the 8.5 is minus 120 to a minus 125, I'm always going to take that 9 at more around an even money and a plus 105, because I do notice that a lot of games, they go way in that over the total or way in that under the total.
Yeah.
There's just not enough games that are landing on that number to warrant paying that extra juice, in my opinion.
I fully agree with you. Those key numbers in baseball, right? And just, again, it feels like teams are scoring a lot. I don't know if it's maybe like pitchers or the lack of depth or what's going on in the league, but hitters are definitely doing very well. Maybe it's the pitch clock, maybe it's the ball. I just try to analyze the data that comes out of it all. I don't really try to speculate on why. I just try to look for spots where, maybe performances will continue. It's definitely been very interesting, especially looking at key numbers in baseball, especially for totals. It's definitely an interesting way to look into it, where these games are landing. But at the other end, you definitely want to make sure you're looking into matchups, right? You want to make sure that you're targeting, hitters that are going to do well against lefties. That's one of the keys for me in baseball, honestly. I don't know how you feel about this, but I see a lot of value in knowing what lineups are going to do well against lefties and righties, and just having that as a basis. And a lot of people know about the Cardinals against lefties, but usually the best teams in baseball are the best teams against right-handed pitching, because there is an abundance of it. So when you're good against righties, you're good more than the teams that are good against lefties. But the Rays, really great team against right-handed pitching this year, just dominating right-handed pitching. So understanding those scenarios can just instantly start to cross off answers on the multiple choice question, if you will, of what should I bet today. And if you focus in on those types of matchups, even at a very general level, I think you'll find more success than if you ignore them.
Take note, Chicago White Sox, who always do really good against left-handed pitching, but they can't hit right-handed pitching to save their lives. I've noticed that for many, many years now. I was trying to be on the podcast. We do have Justin Perri, who does amazing work over at Chalk Quality Bets. And Justin, I'm so glad that you bring up taking a look at some of these totals, taking a look at some righty-lefty splits, because I do think that we have an intriguing one out in the northeast part of the country for Monday. It's the Boston Red Sox and the Baltimore Orioles. Orioles in most spots, anywhere between about a minus 105 to a plus 105, but I'm finding a total of 8, and I recognize that Chris Sale looked significantly better in his last start against the Minnesota Twins, was able to mow them down, but I'm not necessarily impressed by the Minnesota Twins offense for one. Both of these teams have really been ripping the cover off the ball, and especially with this Boston Red Sox bullpen, it just feels like 8 with the scoring environment that we've been seeing this year. Feels very low for this game in terms of total.
Yeah, it might be being in Baltimore versus what feels like a pretty run-happy environment over there in Boston. But yeah, Chris Sale, I feel like was going to scare some people coming off of a really, really nice performance, 11 strikeouts. And he has been getting the Ks, right? He has 30 strikeouts right now in 18 innings, which is pretty ridiculous. I mean, even in some of those bad starts, he went 3 innings, but still struck out 6. It's tough to trust him. He's been kind of hot and cold. 7-3, 6-1. You're going to go by, average expectation. This guy's still giving up just under 1 run per inning. So, yeah, the numbers don't look too great, in my opinion. The ERA of 8 is definitely high. I think his xERA is 5. It's still tough to trust him. If he goes out there and gives you 4 innings, you're definitely expecting to get 2 or 3 runs off of him. So, if his numbers are in that range of over 1.5 on earned runs, I'd probably play overs, especially if the market feels like we have some new Chris Sale out there. The Twins are pretty rough. I was just, Nick Gordon hasn't had a hit in 22 at bats or something. He's batting 104. It's crazy. He's their starting shortstop. So it's going to be a really interesting one. The Twins can definitely have a great day, and they do have good pitching, but Chris Sale plus the Red Sox hitting, which seems to be doing pretty well, it feels like it should be a solid over. I guess maybe, depending on the weather.
Absolutely. And Justin, I know that we were alluding to the Minnesota Twins just a second ago. There has been one team that they've been able to hit against. Well, really one pitcher that they've been able to hit against. That'd be Johnny Brito, because the last time the Yankees and the Twins did battle, the Twins put up 9 runs at the top of the first inning in a Johnny Brito start. And now we've got a total of 8 for Johnny Brito squaring off against the Minnesota Twins with Sonny Gray on the mound. Now, I'm going to go out here on a limb, and I will say that there are fewer than 9 runs scored in the first inning. I'm pretty sure I can't get a bet on that, and if I were, it'd be so much juice that it would not be worth it. But at the same time, how do you evaluate someone in Brito who got just completely destroyed against his team the last time he squared off against them? Because I always think that's very fascinating, because it's sort of like a 50-50 as to whether or not a guy is going to struggle again, because it feels like the second time around, a guy either really finds it and they dominate that team that they struggled against the last time around, or they just get destroyed again.
A pretty tough scenario for me to evaluate. Honestly, Brito has not really played great competition. He's pitched against the Angels, Giants, Twins, and Orioles. Orioles, pretty solid offense, pretty middle of the road. Still have a lot of lasting connotation of being this terrible team, but they have some good pieces at this point, so that's a pretty solid win on the road. I'm not really sure what to make of Brito. I'm definitely staying away from him, but I'm not necessarily running to go take the Twins. I mean, the xERA is bottom 10% of the league right now. The X slug is pretty crazy, so maybe some of the Twins hitters to produce some total bases and to slug a little bit is probably how I would look at it. It's pretty rough. These advanced metrics are pretty bad. The expected weighted on base average against is in the bottom 10% of the league. He has good fastball velocity, decent chase rate, doesn't get a lot of hard hit balls, but clearly people make contact with his stuff. So expect hits. Looking at his game logs, there's decent amount of hits. Obviously the walks haven't really helped. But, aside from the 7-run mishap, he's been pretty good. But yeah, I would expect the Twins to continue to struggle a little bit on offense, maybe get some production from some of their better bats, if anything.
Joining me on the podcast, we do have Justin Perri, who does great work over at Shot Quality Bets, and we are noticing that there's a lot of, shall we say, lesser pitchers that are going to be on the mound for Monday. And something that I've noticed as well with regards to totals is that we've seen a lot of days where there's been a demonstratively high amount of overs, and then there's a demonstratively high amount of unders on some days based on the starting pitchers that we do see going. Have you been noticing this a little bit as well? Because I take a look at Monday, and I think that there's some very good opportunities for overs with just the pitchers that we've got out there.
Yeah, I definitely think it could be one of those days. What we're looking for is really just, some pitchers that are really going to struggle. And taking a look at these probable starters, it's not the cream of the crop. We've seen a little bit better, of course, than some of who's going to go out there. Of course, Austin Gomber kind of is always one of the target. Kremer for the Orioles isn't exactly all that great. There's been issues for Lodolo, and the Rangers are trotting out Uvalde, and I don't even know if I've paid attention to one of his starts yet, so I'm not even going to comment. But Lance Lynn's been having trouble for the White Sox. It just seems everywhere you're looking is someone who's had probably a tough run. So I would look into hitters continuing to do well. I would try to focus in on matchups and profiles of pitch types where there's going to be bad matchups for those pitchers rather than just necessarily assuming that they're going to just be bad. The problem can be is that's exactly where the lines are priced, right? Is for somebody to see recent performance and just go and say, oh, well, this person stunk. And I'm going to go lay, minus 320 with the Twins because Pablo Lopez is on the mound. Well, that didn't work out. And they're still baseball games. So I would make sure to stay away from heavy prices and try to find ways to sort of optimize your take based on, what lines are available. So if you think a pitcher is going to be really bad and maybe isn't going to have his great stuff and is normally lets up big hits to the righty sluggers on a team, I'd go look into a righty slugger to go over 2 total bases, just need a double or a home run and you're home free. So I like things like that. And then of course, I'm a big guy who likes to analyze how pitchers are going to do in their weather-based environments, because it does play a big role in the ball's movement and, what hitters and pitchers are used to in terms of recognizing pitches and command over them. Always check the weather is also another thing I'd say.
Yeah, we have been seeing some inclement weather, and we have yet to get one of those patented snowouts quite yet. We had some interesting delayed/postponed games earlier in the week last week. I think that there was one game that was postponed due to wind, which I can't remember ever seeing a game postponed due to wind, but we did have that happening in baseball, so that is always something to take a look at. And just in terms of the board that we do have for Monday, is there any games that I've yet to mention that you're taking a look at, whether it be from a betting perspective or just a team/a pitcher that you want to see a little bit more from in general because they've been a bit puzzling?
Nothing really has jumped off the board for me yet. I think there's probably, again, guys like Gomber are fun to kind of go at. I used to do a lot of first 5 totals, team totals especially. Those can be really good. I'll probably look into, a few different types of ways to maybe key in on a series starting. I think it's always a really good way to look at baseball. It's a way that a lot of teams look at baseball, right? You want to take a series, you're playing 3, maybe 4 games. How do you sort of get into a series well? And I find that the first game of the series has been going a lot to the favored teams, especially in positive pitching matchups. So that's always pretty interesting. And again, going full circle, teams that are on the road, getting that extra chance. If you like betting against the spread, I know not a lot of people do. I've actually become a little bit more fond of it this year because I've had some success doing it. A team that I'd probably be looking into is the Brewers, though. I do think they'll probably be a pretty nice play against the Tigers. The line's not too steep. I think you can get it around like minus 155, 165 out there. So I think that should be a good one. Just starting that series at home against the Tigers, it's going to be Rhea versus Boyd. I think Brewers should be able to do decently there. And again, Tigers, we've seen them struggle on the road for a long time. I don't think too much has changed, and they're probably a pretty safe play with the Brewers.
You go all the way back to the All-Star break of 2019, since then Matthew Boyd giving up about 2.1 home runs per 9 innings. I mean, this guy has been a human pitching machine. So that is something to take a look at as well. And I know that a man that has been able to do an amazing job of finding value in so many different sports is you, Justin. I know that you do an incredible job when it comes to college basketball, no doubt, but with shot quality bets, I know that you're doing a great job with the NBA. I know that you've been doing incredible work in the MLB. I know that you're fired up for the NFL draft as well. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, for sure. If I can just stop my head from spinning around with all the sports we have to cover over here. But give me a follow over at Justin Perri 8 or over at Shot Quality Bets. We just debuted our brand new props model. I'm really excited about it. It's actually been doing really well. We have expected data versus real data over the last 25 and 10 games to see how players have done on shot quality scores versus real ones. And the props model has just been very, very accurate. Definitely go give that a check out. And I'll probably be around talking more baseball. We're doing a lot of things with weather, have some cool stuff coming soon if you like plays based on atmospheric pressure. I'm kind of a big nerd about baseball weather, but it's a lot of fun. So
it is a lot of fun, and it is always fun to be able to get Justin Perri aboard. He's got such great insights into this great game of baseball, and every single time he joins this podcast, lends us to us. A big thanks to Justin for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Monday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always great to get Justin Perri aboard. He does amazing work over at Shot Quality Bets, taking a look at the great game of college basketball, but don't let that fool you, as those of you guys that listened to this podcast last year and into early this year know that Justin is also an ace out there on the diamond. I believe they used to do a little bit of work over at CBS Sports with regards to their MLB, CBS Sports HQ. So always do appreciate Justin joining me. A big thanks to him for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. They give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Monday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter feed at GNet_D1. We're going to be going in the Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, and any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, easy. So without further ado, let's dive in on 901, 902 on the betting board. It is the Miami Marlins on the road facing off against the Atlanta Braves as Spencer Strider goes for the Braves and Edward Cabrera is on the bump for Miami. Miami, we're between plus $2 and plus $2.15 underdogs. Meanwhile, between a minus 230 and minus 250 is your number on the Braves. You're looking at that run line. That is between minus 115 to minus 118. Laying a run and a half for the Braves. And the total on this game is 8 over and under, both at minus 110. Set the Braves money line at minus 232. Run line, I was willing to lay up to a minus 125. So I'm going to be looking at this run line, and I'm looking at the under. Spencer Strider has been terrific all season long. Thus far this season has given up just 1 home run in 22 innings. Walks can be a little bit of a concern. Had right around 3 walks per 9 innings last year. He's had 4.5 walks per 9 innings this year, but the strikeout numbers are just absolutely immaculate. In all 4 of his starts, 9 strikeouts, no more, no less. He has been tremendous on that front, north of 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. Edward Cabrera is a strikeout artist himself, a little bit over 9 punch-outs per 9 innings. Has allowed just 1 home run this year as well. He also lacks a little bit of command, 16 walks in 17 and 2/3 innings, but like what I've seen from him in his last 2 starts, just 3 walks in those last 2 starts, and last year was a master on the road. $1.49 ERA. It was a small sample size of 36 and a third innings, but he's been very good on the road. Problem is, this is a Miami Marlins bullpen that doesn't necessarily have a lot of trustworthy guys. AJ Puck is someone that I like. Tanner Scott, though, ever since he's gone over from Baltimore, hasn't necessarily been the world's greatest, so you do have a few concerns there. And for the Atlanta Braves, this bullpen did act up a little bit in their series against the Houston Astros, but prior to that series, it was a top 5 bullpen in terms of ERA. And if you take a look since the beginning of the 2022 season, this is a team that they do rank in the top 8 in terms of bullpen ERA. They are missing a few key pieces like a Rossio Iglesias, along with Colin McHugh, but at the same time, Dylan Lee has been rather impressive for this team. AJ Minter, he's been used up the last few days, probably going to be unavailable for this game, but Joe Menes, Nick Anderson, these guys should be able to hold down the fort against a Miami Marlins team that currently is scoring the fewest runs of any team. They and the Washington Nationals in the National League. You have had Jorge Soler be able to provide 5 home runs and is giving you about a 360 on base. Brian De La Cruz also about a 360 on base, but the problem with the Miami Marlins is guys at the top get on base, guys at the bottom don't. Garrett Cooper, for instance, he's hitting at 295, but then once you get past him, Nick Fortes, Avicio Garcia, Gene Segura, Jacob Stallings, Jesus Sanchez, all hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. Atlanta's been a little bit top heavy as well. You need Eddie Rosario, Marcell Ozuna to be able to pick it up, but Ronald Acuna Jr., he is on one, 450 on base. Matt Olson, Ozzy Albies, a combined 11 home runs between the two of them. Olson, 366 on base. Austin Riley, 4 bombs, 360 on base. Sean Murphy, 5 home runs over the course of 60 at-bats. He's hitting at 250. Now, like I said, you do have someone like a Kevin Pillar that does need to pick it up, but I like what I'm seeing out of the Atlanta Braves. Spencer Strider has been locked down all season long. The Marlins have always had their issues just being able to plate runs. So here at an 8, looking at the over sum, I tell it 7.4, and with the Braves, going to be looking to lay a run and a half on this run line. 903, 904 on the betting board. It is the St. Louis Cardinals on the road facing off against the San Francisco Giants. Alex Cobb goes for the Giants, and Jordan Montgomery is on the bump for St. Louis. St. Louis anywhere between minus 120 to minus 125 favorites, between plus 105 and plus 110. Your number on San Francisco 8 is the total. Over is between minus 115 to minus 120. The under is between even and minus 105. Seeing an 8.5 out there as well. That under is minus 125. The over is plus 105, but mostly seeing 8, and I would rather have an 8 over rather than an 8.5 under because this Giants bullpen entering into Sunday Night Baseball in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. They do have 2 relatively solid pieces. Camilo Duvall, Scott Alexander, both of these guys had a sub-3 ERA last year, but Rogers squared has not been good. Tyler Rogers, I recognize he had a 0 ERA going into yesterday, but he's not trustworthy. Taylor Rogers, he has been a hot mess as well. John Brebbia, there's no trusting in him. And for Alex Cobb, he's been very good at home the last 2 years. A sub-3 ERA, has been able to do a nice job, but be able to get some strikeouts as well. Since the beginning part of last season, nearly 9.5 to 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he is someone that is going to give up a walk here and there as well. Thus far this season, 3 walks in about 19 plus innings last year. That's more like 3 walks per 9 innings. Jordan Montgomery, meanwhile, he just typically gives up a lot of contact. Last year's walks per 9 rate was hovering right in the neighborhood of 2, 5 walks in his first 22 and a third innings thus far this season. Strikeouts per 9 rate hovering right around 8, but opponents starting at 275 off of him. But I do think that Jordan Montgomery going to be able to do a solid job in this spot last year. 375 ERA on the road, was giving up about 1.4-ish home runs per 9 innings, but San Francisco plays very pitcher-friendly during the nighttime, and you've got the coming back from Sunday Night Baseball curse as well for the San Francisco Giants. Teams coming off of Sunday Night Baseball in 2022 won fewer than 40% of their games straight up. That includes travel and non-travel spots. With the Giants, they are a team that they very much rely upon the deep ball as well. So playing a nighttime game in a pitcher-friendly ballpark, not great. And with the Giants, it's a very well-rounded effort with this team. Again, I keep saying it. I don't think anyone gets north of 30 home runs on this team. I see like 8 guys getting past 20 as you've got Wilmer Flores along with David Villar, J.D. Davis, Michael Conforto, Blake Zabel, Brandon Crawford, Mike Yastrzemski, all with between 3 and 4 home runs this far this season. Flores has moved the line, hitting in nearly a 300 along J.D. Davis, but then you've got like Brandon Crawford, VR, Sabel, Lamonte Wade, all these guys hitting below the Mendoza line of a 200. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, Ryan Helsley looks to be back in the bullpen after he was a little bit shaky towards back half of the 2022 season. Giovanni Gallegos, Genesis Cabrera, these guys are solid. Zach Thompson, with Chris Strain, are able to give you multiple innings. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, this team has really good balance up and down their lineup, as you've been able to get 5 home runs this far this season out of Nolan Gorman, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, entering into Sunday, just 2 home runs apiece, but both of these guys doing a good job, hitting at least a 280 apiece. I mean, these two guys, Jordan Walker, Tommy Edman, Wilson Contreras, all hitting between about a 270 to a 290. So you've got the entire lineup being able to move the line. I do think that home run power is going to be there for them, and this Giants team has just been shaky in general ever since Buster Posey has been out of the fold in terms of their pitching. So this is a spot where I did set the St. Louis Cardinals at a minus 126 on the money line, willing to lay up to a minus 125 with them. Semi-total at 8.3, so here at an 8, also looking at the over along with the Cardinals. 905, 906 is the DK Nation write-up pick, as you got the Baltimore Orioles, and they play also the Boston Red Sox. Chris Sale is going to be going for the Sox, and Dean Kramer is on the bump for Baltimore. Mostly seeing 8 on this total, seeing a few straight 8.5s pop up as well, but on the 8, over is anywhere between minus 110 to minus 120. The under is anywhere between even to minus 110. On the 8.5, under is minus 125. The over is plus 105. The Red Sox, anywhere between minus 105 to minus 120 favorites, anywhere between plus 105 and minus 105. Your number on Baltimore, and I did set Baltimore as a minus 109 favorite, so I'm going to be willing to take them on the money line, especially getting a little bit of a plus price. But my write-up pick here, that is going to be on the total over. I set it at a 9, so even if you've got an 8.5, I do think that you've got good value here, because you take a look at both of these pitchers, and I mean, you don't want to make it too simple, but both of these guys have north of a 6 ERA. Both of these guys have made 4 starts thus far this season, and both guys have given up 3+ runs in 3 of those starts. Neither of these guys has been impressive at all. For Dean Kramer, he had a 3.23 ERA last season and was relatively solid at home, but at the same time, he was getting 6.2 strikeouts per 9 innings last year, right around 6.6 punch-outs per 9 innings thus far this year. I've just never really seen it with him, and I do think that he is going to be in for getting hit relatively hard against the Boston Red Sox team that is averaging 5.7 runs per game on the road. Both of these teams entered into the day on Sunday in the top 5 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. With the Boston Red Sox, it is a little bit of a top-heavy lineup, as Alex Verdugo hitting well above a 300. You've got Justin Turner down for what? He's been able to do a nice job, giving you about a 350 on base. Rafael Devers is currently a man possessed, 8 home runs, hitting at 255. Bottom of the fold, it has been a little bit more brutal for this team, as you've got guys like Tristan Casas, Yu Chang, Connor Wong. You're able to go down the list of guys that just aren't necessarily producing for the team, but Kike Hernandez, he's starting to get in line. He's been able to give the team now a 312 on base, so that's something that you'd like to see. Masataka Yoshida, he's been picking it up a little bit as well. And for the Baltimore Orioles, Ryan Mountcastle not really hitting for a lot of average, hitting about a 215, but he's had 6 home runs. You've got a pair of guys that are the best base stealing tandem in all of baseball right now, in Ode Mateo, along with Cedric Mullins. These 2 guys have been able to combine for 17 stolen bases. Adley Rushman has been hitting for about a 425 on base with 4 bombs. Austin the Say's kid is hitting nearly a 300. Both of these teams have been rather impressive, and this Red Sox bullpen thus far this season is in the top half in terms of ERA. That's going to be going downward if you date it back to the All-Star break of 2022. They have about a 5.20 ERA. That is 28th in the big leagues. The Orioles in that time span, they are 14th. I don't have a lot of faith in either of these bullpens. And I'm getting to Chris Sale, an 8 ERA this season. He looked much better in his last start against the Minnesota Twins. 11 punch-outs, 1 run allowed, but I need to see more than 1 start to be convinced that he is fully back. I do think that the Red Sox are going to be able to hit Kramer as well, but I think that the Baltimore Orioles have a far better bullpen. You still have guys like a Keegan Aiken, Cionel Perez, who had a sub-3.5 ERA last season. Danny Columbia is someone that you're able to rely upon. And for the Boston Red Sox, Kenley Jansen, not trustworthy at all. Caleb Ward is not good. Ryan Brazier, Richard Blyer, these guys are all pretty awful. John Schreiber is someone that I like, but I think runs of plenty are going to be scored here. My write-up pick is going to be on the over. By the way, Red Sox, 16 out of the first 23 games have gone over the total. I think that trend continues here. So write-up plays on the over. Set the Orioles at a minus 109 on the money line. So looking at the Orioles on the money line, and my write-up pick is on the over. 907, 908 on the betting board. It is the Tampa Bay Rays playing host to the Houston Astros. Jose Urquidy is going to be going for the Astros, and Taj Bradley is on the bump for the Rays. Rays open up at minus 130. This number is starting to go away. I'm still seeing a few straight minus 130s, but seeing as high as a minus 150 out there as well. And between plus 122 and plus 135, your number on Houston. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. Seeing 1 straight 8 out there. That over, it is minus 125. And the under, it's plus 105. And with the Astros, need at least a plus 138 to be able to take a shot. If you're still able to dive in on a minus 138 or less, and I'm seeing a few so out there, I'd be willing to dive in on the Tampa Bay Rays. I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of Rays team. We saw that with the game against the Chicago White Sox on Sunday. I could see this getting to well north of plus 140 on the Astros, and that would be my buy point. So if you have missed out on the Tampa Bay Rays as of right now, because I personally took a very early opener on the Tampa Bay Rays, figuring that this was not going to be around for very long, and I was very correct there. As a matter of fact, Circa opened this up at a minus 128. Yeah, I would say you probably want to be waiting, because this is going to be a number that probably gets a little bit out of hand. With Jose Urquidy, he's been able to do a good job of being able to pick up some swing and miss stuff this year. 17 punch jobs in 19 and 2/3 innings for his career, more of around a 7 to 7.5 strikeout per 9 inning guy. The big thing for him is keeping the ball in the yard, and he has given up 4 home runs in his 19 and 2/3 innings thus far this season. Meanwhile, Taj Bradley, a highly touted guy in the Rays minor league system that probably got rushed up a little bit just due to all the injuries that we've seen in general, but he's looked good in his first 2 starts, giving up combined 3 runs in 10 1/3 innings, just 2 walks, 17 strikeouts, and this Tampa Bay Rays bullpen has been second to none. It's actually the Houston Astros that had the number 1 bullpen in terms of ERA a season ago in the big leagues, but that has fallen off a little bit. Now, the Astros, they are still number 5 in terms of bullpen ERA, but I figured there was going to be a little bit of regression from last year, because you did have so many guys like Seth Martinez, Brian Abreu, Ryan Stanek, Rafael Montero, Hector Neris. All these guys other than Neris really had a sub 3.3 ERA last season, whole bunch of career years. You figured that was going to be falling off a little bit, and for the Rays, they are dealing with some injuries of their own. Ryan Thompson is currently on the fold. I do think that that's going to catch up with them a little bit. They've had to utilize their bullpen more with the Jeffrey Springs injury, so Yoni Chirinos is going to be a little bit of a longer guy for the team, but you still have Jason Adam who's able to hold it down. Pete Fairbanks is a very good bullpen piece. They have found something here in Kevin Kelly, so I'm impressed there. And for the Rays, they're currently on pace to hit north of 350 home runs this season. I hate to be the party pooper, but I don't think that they're going to be hitting 350 home runs this season, but it's still really impressive as you've got Randy Arozarena, Yandy Diaz, Harold Ramirez, along with Josh Flo, all hitting at least a 305. I believe all these guys have at least a 390 on base. It is absolutely incredible, and darn near everyone on this roster has 3+ home runs other than Manuel Margot, who has 2. You're going to be seeing regression with this. I am sorry, but there is going to be some regression here, and for the Houston Astros, you've got Yordan Alvarez, who had a really good series against the Atlanta Braves, including breaking by Hurt with the DK Nation right up on Friday with that home run, but already 27 RBI from thus far this season, 365 on base. Alex Bregman got off to a little bit of a cold start. Looks like he's starting to pick it up right around a 370 on base. For him, Jeremy Pena needs to give you a little bit more. And Jose Abreu has yet to go yard, but he still has been able to hit about a 250 for this team. Guys at the bottom of the fold, the entirety of the catcher's spot. The young guy, David Hensley, they do need to pick it up a little bit, but the Astros, they have been able to do a relatively solid job with their bullpen. Now that we've gotten to an 8.5 at a lot of spots, I'm going to be willing to go to the under. With Urquidy, you do have your issues with him giving up the deep ball, and I do think that he's going to give up a home run or two, but he does a relatively solid job with command as well, so I think that he's going to be able to limit them to solo shots. I would say that if you still have that minus 138 or less with the Rays, take it now. It is not going to be available relatively soon, and if you have yet to dive in on this game, I would say keep waiting, because I think that you're going to get the Astros at north of plus 140. Like I said, I fired in very early on the Tampa Bay Rays when this was opening up, more around minus 130. But that said, if you're waiting on this one, take a plus 140 or higher with the Houston Astros. And with regards to the total, set my total at an 8.2, so you're at an 8.5, looking at the under as well. 909, 910 on the betting board. The Chicago White Sox hit the road to face off against the Toronto Blue Jays as Chris Bassett has the hook, line, and sinker for the Jays, and Lance Lynn is on the bump for the Southsiders. Total on this game is 9, over and under, and between minus 105 to a minus 115 with the Blue Jays. It is anywhere between minus 160 and minus 170 on this money line, and between plus 140 and plus 150 is your number on the White Sox. And with the White Sox, I need at least a plus 160 to be able to take a shot. I set this money line at a minus 162, but if you take a look at the run line, finding it anywhere between plus 115 and plus 125, need at least a plus 115 to take a shot on this Blue Jays run line, but pretty much even the worst of the number, I'm willing to dive in on this Blue Jays run line, and the big reason why, the Chicago White Sox bullpen is just a hot mess. Even if you do get a good start here from Lance Lynn, you are far from out of the woods with this team. I mean, let's take a look at the Chicago White Sox. 28th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA, a good hearty 6.22 thus far this season. I mean, everyone has just been really untrustworthy. Their best bullpen piece right now might be Kenan Middleton, like Gregory Santos, Kendall Graveman, Aaron Bummer, Tanner Banks. I'm so glad that I mentioned Bummer, because that describes everyone that I just mentioned. bummers. Meanwhile, I think it's fair to say Chris Bassett has been a little bit of a bummer as well. Now, ever since his first start of the year that he got destroyed against the St. Louis Cardinals, he gave up 9 runs in 3 1/3 innings. He's been able to find it, giving up a combined 4 earned runs in his last 3 starts. He doesn't necessarily look comfortable out there. He has still given up 9 walks in those last 3 starts. He's been a little bit lucky on balls in play, and I was there when he made that start against the LA Angels. He just did not look very comfortable with the pitch clock in general. His stuff has been a little bit down, so I do have some trepidation there for the White Sox. They are a team that does a good job of being able to move the line in terms of being able to get hits. They don't take any walks whatsoever, though, and that's very befuddling about this team, and they don't have a lot of power. Jake Berger, Luis Robert, they both have 5 home runs. Nobody else on this roster has north of 2. Andrew Benintendi has been able to move the line. He's hitting about a 280 as Yasmani Grandal as well, but you take a look at some of these guys. Eloy Jimenez, who's been banged up. Elvis Andrus, you're able to throw in there. Lurie Sosa, all hitting a 215 or lower. These guys have not been able to produce whenever you've had Gavin Sheets out there. He's been relatively solid. Andrew Vaughn, he seems to have a relatively solid approach at the plate, and it's like the only guy on this team that is willing to take a walk. But, I mean, it's been rough for the White Sox overall, and for the Toronto Blue Jays, they haven't necessarily supplied a lot of home run power to this point this season. I believe they've got 23 home runs over the course of 22 games. Liger Jr., Matt Chapman, both have 5 bombs apiece, and both of these guys, along with Bo Bichette, are all hitting at least a 330. You know that the home runs are going to be coming for the Toronto Blue Jays. Alejandro Kirk got off to a rough start to the season, but now his on base is back up to right around a 390. George Springer, he's hitting at 200. You know that he's going to be able to pick it up. I don't know if Kevin Kiermaier can keep up hitting at 295. He's noted a little bit more for his defense, but all in all, the Blue Jays, they still have a rock-solid lineup. This bullpen, other than Anthony Bass, who he is popping up in the media, hopefully you like that joke, but other than him, it's been a relatively solid bullpen. Yimi Garcia, Eric Swanson, Tim Meza, Zach Pop, Jordan Romano, the closer. These guys are all relatively solid. This is a Blue Jays team that's in the top 10 in terms of bullpen ERA. I think that they're going to be able to lock it down, and I do think that both of these starters are going to be in for giving up some hard contact, including Lance Lynn, who's got currently a 7.59 ERA. Command has not been there this year. 4 walks per 9 innings, given up 6 bombs in 21 1/3 innings. He gave up right around 1.7 home runs per 9 innings last season and last year. It took him a month and a half to be able to get into form as well. Semi-total at a 9.7. I'm looking at the over in this spot. And with the Blue Jays at a plus 115 or greater, I'm going to be willing to dive in on their run line as well. 9-11, 9-12 on the betting board. The New York Yankees at the road face-off against the Minnesota Twins. Sonny Gray goes for the Twins, and Johnny Brito is on the bump for the Yankees. And the Yankees, they are anywhere between plus 112 and plus 116 underdogs. Meanwhile, with the Minnesota Twins, you're laying anywhere between minus 125 to a minus 135. 8 is the total. The over is minus 115. The under, it is minus 105, seeing a straight minus 120 on the over. That under is even. Did set my total is 7.8. I recognize that Johnny Brito, in his last start against the Minnesota Twins, the Yankees as a whole gave up 9 runs at the top of the first inning, and that toasted the under. I do think that Mr. Brito is going to be able to give a little bit of a better start than 7 runs given up while getting 2 outs. If you take a look at all of his other starts combined, he has won a grand total of 14 1/3 innings, giving up 2 runs. I do think that there are such things as outliers, and that was a big outlier. You take a look at Johnny Brito and what he was able to do at the minor league level last season. Wasn't necessarily a master of being able to get swings and misses, but at the same time, his walks per 9 rate, it was below 2.5, was able to do a good job of being able to limit hard contact, and in general, this Minnesota Twins lineup just has been far from terrific, to say the least. 3 runs or fewer in 2 out of their 3 games against the Washington Nationals. The lone exception is when they were able to get to 4, and this is a Minnesota Twins team that has scored 4 runs or fewer in, I believe, 7 out of their last 9 games. You've had Joey Gallo go off for 5 home runs, but that I don't think is very sustainable. Just take a look at the guys at the top of the fold. Michael A. Taylor, Trevor Larned, Jose Miranda, Byron Buxton, all these guys are at 244 or lower, and you really don't have anyone other than Buxton who's been able to give you much power. Michael A. Taylor does have 4 home runs, but I think that we're going to see a little bit of regression there. Nick Gordon has not been able to get on base to save his life. Max Kepler has not been able to either. It's been a rough go of it for Carlos Correa as well. And for the Minnesota Twins, it's a bullpen that is right around league average right now. Yohan Duran is someone I like, but Jorge Alcala is currently on the injured list. Ori Lopez is someone I do like, and I do think that you're going to be able to get some solid innings moving forward out of Griffin Jax as well. But for the New York Yankees, this team is currently at the top of the American League in terms of bullpen ERA. Clay Holmes has not been able to hold up his end of the bargain, but you take a look at guys like Wandy Peralta, Albert Abreu, Ron Medanacchio, Jimmy Cordero. All these guys have a sub-3 ERA. They've been able to do a good job of being able to lock it down. And Sonny Gray, he has been incredible this year. 4 starts, he has given up 2 runs in those starts. His walks per 9 rate is right around 3.5, but his good swing and miss stuff is back. He's been able to give you a little bit more north of 10 punch outs per 9 innings. Now, buyer beware that he's went 5 innings or fewer in 3 out of these 4 starts, so he's probably just going to give you about 5, maybe 6 innings, but I do think that those are going to be very solid innings. And for the New York Yankees, as we know, this is a little bit of an all-or-nothing team that now goes to a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. Aaron Judge, we all know what he's capable of, 6 bombs, has been able to give you 345 on base. I do expect his average to go up a little bit. And Anthony Rizzo has done an amazing job of being able to move the line. He's currently hitting about a 316, north of a 400 on base, but I have a lot of dead bats out there. A lot of people are buzzing about Anthony Volpe, but I mean, he, Isaiah Canero-Falefa, Kyle Higashioka, whenever he's behind the dish, Franchi Cordero, Jose Trevino, Osvaldo Cabrera, all these guys are hitting a 225 or lower, so you need more there. Gleyber Torres, after a hot start to the season, he's cooled off a little bit. TJ LeMahieu back up to hitting a 280. That is something that you do like to see, but for the Yankees, it's boom or bust, and going to this ballpark, that is a little bit rough. I do think that the Yankees are going to be able to do a solid job with their bullpen in the spot, so this is a total I did set it at 7.8. I do think that we're in for a sneaky under in the spot, and with the Yankees being able to get anything north of a plus 112, I'm going to be willing to take them on the money line, set them at a plus 111. So looking at the Yankees money line and taking a look at this total under 913, 914 on the betting board. The Oakland A's, they hit the road to face off against the LA Angels as Jose Suarez is going to be going for the Halos. Again, Waldachek is on the bump for Oakland, and Oakland is a underdog of anywhere between plus 175 and plus 185. Anywhere between minus $2 and minus 210 is your number on LA. 9.5 is the total. The overs between minus 110 to a minus 120. The unders anywhere between even minus 110. If you're looking at the Angels run line, laying anywhere between minus 105 to minus 110, and I was willing to lay up to a minus 114 on this Angels run line. I recognize that the Angels couldn't cover the run line yesterday, but this Oakland A's team at this point is just sad. Their bullpen ERA is .699. It's dead last in the big leagues. They trotted out their Ken Waldachuk with his .765 ERA and 7 bombs surrendered in 20 innings. Now, the good news is he gave up 0 runs in 5 innings in his last start against the Chicago Cubs, and the team still lost that game by 4 runs because this is the Oakland A's, and they have no idea what the heck they're doing. Now, I will say this about the Oakland A's. Their hitting on the road is significantly better than it has been at home. At home, this is a team that's hitting right around about a 215 as a collective. They entered into yesterday hitting about a 253 as a collective. As a Studio Ruiz, he's been hitting north of a 3 when he's been on the road. Jace Peterson has been able to move the line on the road. At home, just a big giant nothing burger. And then Brent Rooker has been nice for this team. He's hitting about a 318. He's been able to supply the team with 4 home runs. So you get guys like Jesus Aguilar, Tony Kemp, Kevin Smith, these veterans that just have been able to do nothing whatsoever. So that's an issue. And for the LA Angels, Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani both go deep yesterday. And that's big for this team. You've got these guys really doing a good job of moving the line. Trout a 440 on base. Taylor Ward is off to a little bit of a rough start to the season, but he was able to go deep yesterday. Hunter Renfroe sitting at 275. He's been able to supply 6 home runs. Big issue for this team, though, is that Logan Hoppe was doing a really good job at the catcher spot. Had 4 home runs early on the season. He got injured, so it's a bit of an issue. And for the LA Angels, the bullpen was very much in the news on Saturday for the way that they blew that game. But if you look at the Angels bullpen, ever since the All-Star break of 2022, this has been an above-average bullpen in terms of ERA. Now, you look at the advanced numbers, and it's looking like we should be seeing some regression with that, as you got guys like Jose Quiata, Andrew Wantz, Austin Warren, not necessarily the most trustworthy guys in the world. It's still a whole heck of a lot better than this Oakland A's bullpen, though. This Oakland A's bullpen is absolutely terrible. And for Jose Suarez, last time out against the New York Yankees, he was only able to complete 3 1/3 innings, and as a matter of fact, he's made 3 starts and he's won 11 2/3 innings. So expect to see quite a bit of the bullpen. You might be seeing Tucker Davidson give you some long innings, and Tucker Davidson was a failure as a starter. As a long reliever, he's actually been okay, though, and you want to be seeing if Jose Suarez can find that form that he had towards the second half of the season. Second half of the season last year at a sub-350 ERA, his swing and miss stuff was better. He's always been a guy that gives out quite a few walks. As far this season, 7 walks and 11 2/3 innings, but I mean, in that stretch, he was giving up more like 3 walks per 9 innings, but I think going up against the Oakland A's should be a nice confidence booster for him. Set my total at a 9.2. I'm going to be going under just because I don't think that the Oakland A's going to hold up their end of the bargain. Plus, it's hard to hit it out in Los Angeles during the nighttime. So, looking at the under in this spot, and with the Angels, want to lay up to a minus 113 on their run line. 915, 916 on the betting board. It is the Cleveland Guardians playing us to the Colorado Rockies. Austin Gomber is going to be going for the Rockies, and Cal Quantrill's on the bump for Cleveland. And Cleveland is anywhere between minus 193 to minus 210, between plus 170 and plus 180. Your number on Colorado. 8.5 is the total. Over and under, both at minus 110. I did set the Guardians minus 222 on the money line. If you're looking at their run line, you're getting that at a plus 105, and count me in because I was willing to lay up to a minus 120 on this run line with the Cleveland Guardians. They have won 18 of Cal Quantrill's last 21 regular season starts, and you got a Colorado Rockies team that since the beginning of the 2022 campaign is averaging 3 runs per game on the road. That is by far the fewest in the big leagues. Now, the Guardians' offense has not been so terrific, as right now the Cleveland Guardians are dead last in the American League in terms of home runs with 10. That is far from terrific, but got guys are able to move the line. Last year, Steven Kwan, Andres Jimenez, Ahmed Rosario, Jose Ramirez, Will Brandon, Oscar Gonzalez, all in at least a 270 for this team. And this year, the offense has seen a little bit of a fall off. They're hitting a 227 as a collective. I do think that they're going to have a little bit of a rebirth there. And for Cal Quantrill, he's backed up by one of the best bullpens in the big league since the All-Star break of 2022. Number 1 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've got Nick Sandlin, Trevor Stephen, throwing there Emmanuel Clase, Angel de los Santos, Eli Morgan, all guys that had a sub-3.2 ERA last season. And for the Colorado Rockies, since the beginning of the 2022 campaign, bottom 3 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Now, I do like the fact that they pick up Brad Hand in the offseason. Brent Suter has been relatively solid for the team as well. Sub-2 ERA thus far this season was always a steady hand for the Milwaukee Brewers, but when you're having to go to guys like Ty Block, Jake Bird, that's not great. And for Austin Gomber, I think that he's going to get Gombered up. A 12-12 ERA. He has made 4 starts, said he has come away with 4 losses, giving up at least 3 runs at every one of them, giving up at least 5 runs in each out of his last 3 starts. He has been absolutely terrible. He has given up at least 1 home run in every one of his 4 starts. Meanwhile, you got Cal Quantrill. Is he going to blow you away in any respect? No. He had right around 7 punch-outs per 9 innings last season, 13 strikeouts at 21 2/3 innings thus far this season, but he's not going to walk a lot of guys. He does a good job holding down the fort. 3 runs or fewer surrendered in each out of his last 3 starts, a combined 6 runs surrendered in those last 3 starts. 4 strikeouts or fewer in every one of them. 2 walks or fewer in every one of them. He's going to give you right around 6 or so innings. You know what to expect out of him. With the Colorado Rockies, this team just cannot get any offense going away from home. We have seen it time and time again. These home and road splits, they take hold for the Colorado Rockies. Currently, they're hitting at 212 away from home. CJ Cron has 4 of the team's 9 home runs away from home. Chris Bryant, being back in the fold, is big. He's been able to hit about a 270 away from home, but take a look at some of these guys like Ryan McMahon, along with Jurickson Profar, Eliudius Montero. You just go down the list of guys hitting below the middle line of 200 away from home, and it's just ghastly with the Colorado Rockies. So this is a total that I did set at an 8.8. I'm going to be taking a look at the over because Austin Gomber just has been gombered up all season long, and I do think that the Rockies are going to be able to scratch across probably 3 in this game. I don't think they give much more than 3, but I think that they can get to 3. So I'm going to be taking a look at the over in this spot, and with the Guardians, I'm going to lay up to about a minus 122 with regards to the run line. 917, 918 on the betting board. The Walker Texas Rangers hit the road face off against the Cincinnati Reds. Nick Lodolo is going to be going for the Redlegs, and Nathan Eovaldi is on the bump for Texas. Texas is back to being in a pick'em game. It's anywhere between minus 105 to minus 110 on both teams. Totals between 8.5 and 9. On the 9, the unders between minus 120 to a minus 125. Overs between even money and plus 105 on the 8.5. Overs minus 115. The under is minus 105. I did set the Reds at a minus 107. So if you're seeing the Reds right around a minus 105, it's where I'm seeing them at most books. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on Nick Lodolo. Really good swing and miss stuff with him, and goes up against someone in Nathan Eovaldi that, since the beginning of the 2014 season, opponents hit a 263 off of him. He does a good job not giving up a lot of walks. 4 walks in 21 2/3 innings thus far this season. The hard contact is going to be there. Now, he has been able to get nearly 10 punch-outs per 9 innings thus far this season. I think that he's going to get right around 8 to 9 strikeouts per 9 innings when it's all said and done, but he just gives up way too much contact in general. I recognize that the Cincinnati Reds don't have a lot of thumpers. They did not return anyone that had north of 12 home runs last season, and right now Joey Vosler is the only guy with more than 2 home runs on this team. He's right now got 3, but you've got guys who are able to move the line. TJ Friedel hitting above a 3. Jonathan India, Tyler Stevenson, both of these guys are combined at about a 280. Both of these guys north of a 365 on base. Will Myers is relatively washed. Jake Fraley hitting right around at 200. I do think that he's going to be able to pick that up a little bit. And for the Cincinnati Reds, they do have a halfway decent bullpen duo in Fernando Cruz along with Alexis Diaz. They had a sub-2 ERA last season. You take a look at the Cincinnati Reds bullpen, and Last year, they were one of the worst in the big leagues. Post All-Star break, though, they were halfway decent, and thus far this season, 3.75 ERA. Is it amazing? No, but they're right around league average, and they're going to be going up against the Texas Rangers bullpen that I do think is due in for a little bit of regression. Right now, they are number 2 in terms of bullpen ERA. I like the fact that you've got Brock Burke, Jonathan Hernandez, Jose Leclerc, all these guys at a sub-3 ERA. Will Smith is getting jiggy with it. Cole Reagans, he was a starter last year that's been able to find his way to the bullpen, but I do think that Nick Lodolo is going to be better in this circumstance. Lodolo is going to give up a little bit of hard contact. For his career, about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, got completely destroyed against the Tampa Bay Rays, but in starts not made against the Tampa Bay Rays, he has won a combined 17 innings, giving up 4 runs in that span. He's been able to get 31 punch-outs and 21 and 2/3 innings, so I do like what he's able to present there. And for the Texas Rangers, they are still without Corey Seager right now, and I do think that that's a big deal. Now, Marcus Semien, he had 3 home runs last week. He's starting to find it once again, hitting darn near 308 Elise Garcia. He was struggling up until Saturday, and then he goes 5 for 5. He hits 3 home runs, and all of a sudden the world is right. But you take that one very demonstrative performance out of the fold, and it's been a little bit rough going for him now. What I do like for the team is Travis Janikowski. He's been able to hit above 300, like what I've been able to see out of him. But some of these guys towards the bottom of the fold, like a Josh Smith, Bubba Thompson, Brad Miller, you do need to get a little bit more out of them. It's a bit of a top-heavy Texas Rangers lineup, and I do think that Lodolo is going to be able to mow them down in this circumstance. So it's a big reason why I did set the Reds at a minus 107 favorite. I'm going to be willing to ride with them. Set my total at an 8.7 here. Mostly seeing 9s, but I'm seeing some 8.5s pop up. I personally would rather have an 8.5 over rather than a 9 under. I do think regression is coming for the Texas Rangers bullpen. The Cincinnati Reds provide a very hitter-friendly ballpark as well, so seeing the 8.5s popping up, I'm going to be willing to take an 8.5 over, and I'm looking at the Reds on the money line, 919, 920 on the betting board. The Detroit Tigers hit the road face-off against the Milwaukee Brewers. Colin Rios is going to be going for the Brew Crew, and Matthew Boyd is on the bump for Detroit, and Detroit is anywhere between a plus 135 to a plus 142 underdog. Meanwhile, with the Brew Crew, it's anywhere between minus 154 and minus 165, with 8.5 being the total. Overs between minus 115 and minus 120. The unders anywhere between even and minus 105. And with the Brewers, I set them at a minus 182 on the money line. Pretty much even money or better. Was willing to take a look at the run line. Seeing that between plus 120 and plus 125, sign me up. For Matthew Boyd, he's got an ERA that's hovering right around 5 since the All-Star break of 2019, with north of 2 home runs per 9 innings surrender. He's given up just 1 home run in 14 innings thus far this season, but 4.50 ERA. Command is not there, 9 walks in 14 innings. It has always been a little bit of an ordeal where he's had a bit of a lack of command, so that's a bit of an issue. And for the Detroit Tigers last year, they backed him up with a really good bullpen that had so many guys like a Joe Jimenez, Andrew Chafin, Gregory Soto. Now you're down to Jose Cicerno, who I do like. Jason Foley is okay, but it's a big giant fall off. Will Vest is going to need to pick it up with this bullpen. Now for the Milwaukee Brewers, they entered into Sunday afternoon with the number 1 bullpen in the big leagues in terms of ERA. That went downward because Javi Guerra sucks, but I mean, guys not named Javi Guerra have been able to do a solid job. Matt Bush, not so great there, but Peter Strzelecki, along with Devin Williams, your closer, Hobie Milner, these guys have been able to do a nice job of being able to hold it down. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, just a very functional lineup in general. Christian Yelich, he's sitting now at 250, he's starting to pick it up a little bit, still a big giant waste of money, but Brian Anderson, Willie Adames, both of these guys providing north of a 360 on base, and combined 9 home runs between the two of them. Rowdy Tellez has been able to give you 7 home runs. Guys like a Bryce Terang, rookies, have been able to step up in a big way. Garrett Mitchell being out of the fold hurts them, but all in all, it's a Milwaukee Brewers team that is rather formidable. And for the Detroit Tigers, this is just not a good lineup. They've got 15 home runs in 20 games thus far this season. They're hitting a 209 as a collective. Riley Green has been able to get on base. He's hitting about a 235. And Gary Carpenter has been able to do some work as well. He's been able to give the team 3 home runs. You know what? He's been able to just find a way to be able to get on base, but you just take a look at all these guys and the way that they are not hitting, and it's absolutely insane. As Carpenter, who I just mentioned and lauded, Javi Baez, Miguel Cabrera, Jonathan Scope, Nick Maton, Spencer Torkelson, they're all hitting a 218 or lower. It's just ghastly bad. There's not really a lot of faith to be had in Matthew Boyd. Now, Colin Rio, I do have my question marks here because he had that great first start against the San Diego Padres and gives up 4 runs in 5 innings against the Seattle Mariners. Very much a journeyman pitcher, 32-year-old that really didn't see starts in the big leagues other than in 2016 with the Slam Diego Padres. A combined 4.85 career ERA. He's very much bounced around, but even against this Detroit Tigers lineup. I think that he is going to be able to have some success, but I do think that the Brewers get to Matthew Boyd, and I do think that the Tigers, they're going to be able to move the line a little bit. I do think that the Brewers bullpen is starting to regress a little bit, so I do think that this is going to be a higher scoring game, so I told it at 8.6. We're going to take a look at the 8.5 over, and with the Brewers at even money or better, looking at the run line, and we're wrap things up with 921, 922 on the betting board. It is the Kansas City Royals. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Tommy Henry is going to be going for the Snakes, and Brad Keller is on the bump for the Kansas City Royals. The Royals are finding themselves on a pick'em line between -105 to -110. Meanwhile, if you're taking a look at the Arizona Diamondbacks, same for them, -105 to -110. Total on this game, it is 9.5, over is -115, the under is -105. I understand that Tommy Henry was not terrific last year, but making him a pick'em against Brad Keller seems like massive disrespect. I set this line at a -166, so I'm going to be willing to take a look at the money line, and I was setting it even a little bit higher before the Kansas City Royals were able to get a little bit more length than expected out of Jordan Lyles, but I'm going to be willing to dive in here. You take a look at Tommy Henry, and at the minor league level, he went 1-0, but he did have a 6.33 ERA. This is out there in the PCL. It's a juice ball league. He was giving up a bunch of home runs per 9 innings a season ago, and at the big league level, he did give up 2 home runs per 9 innings, but you know what he gets the gift of? The Kansas City Royals lineup that going into Saturday was averaging fewer than 3 runs per game, dead last in the big leagues in that respect. They entered into the weekend dead last in terms of batting average as well. You just don't have guys that are able to move the line for the Royals. Now, you do have Vinny Pasquantino and Bobby Witt Jr. They'll be able to supply you with 4 home runs as far this season, but you've got Hunter Dozier, MJ Melendez, Nicky Lopez, along with Nate Eaton, Jackie Bradley Jr., Kyle Isabel, all hitting a .188 or lower. I mean, it's just terrible. The Kansas City Royals, second to worst in terms of bullpen ERA, as well as, Aroldis Chapman and Scott Barlow have actually been really good. Guys not named Aroldis Chapman and Scott Barlow all stink right now. And for Brad Keller, I recognize that he's been able to pick it up a little bit thus far this season, but he's still giving up north of 4.5 walks per 9 innings. His strikeouts per 9 rate is right around 8. He looks like a little bit of a better pitcher this year, but he's still giving up a lot of walks. That should knock him out of a lot of starts very early, and this is an Arizona Diamondbacks team that I do think that they are going to be able to move the line against him, as you've got Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, along with Josh Rojas, all hitting at least a 280, along with Gabriel Moreno. He's been able to pick it up as well, and for the Diamondbacks, their bullpen has been a little bit shaky this year. They're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of ERA, but now they've got Joe Mantiply back in the fold after he was injured. Kyle Nelson, both had a sub-3 ERA last year. They pick up Andrew Chafin, Miguel Castro. These guys are relatively solid. They no longer have, from last year, Mark Melancon as well, so that by itself is a nice little break, but I just think that Brad Keller is getting badly overvalued. I do think that Tommy Henry is going to be giving up his fair share of runs as well, but I do think that Tommy Henry, when he went down to the minor leagues, was able to figure out a little bit of something, and when he surfaced the first time around, he had a good first few starts. So I do think that he's going to be able to provide a little bit of value here in this spot. I did set the Diamondbacks more around a -165 in terms of the money line. So going to be taking a look at the Arizona Diamondbacks, and here at a 9.2 is where I set my total at a 9.5. Going to be looking at the under as well, and that will wrap things up for the Monday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. A big thanks to Justin Perri, who does amazing work over at Chalk Quality Bets. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like what you're hearing from his fine podcast, the Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways to be able to further this in. First one is my Twitter timeline at @JN_D1. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline, and the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire on whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season, which means I'm coming at you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in.